Ex-homeless Redditors, what was the scariest thing that you ever saw on the streets? People who had been homeless way longer than me. Trust me, there is nothing scarier on the streets than the meth couple who this has been their day in and day out for thousands of days. People joke about meth, but unless you've been around chronic users, you don't understand how truly scary it makes people become. Like a whole new level of animalistic, impulsive, not right in the head people. I fucking hate meth. There is a drainage ditch in my area that the local homeless people tend to bed down in. A few years ago, when I found myself destitute, I spent one night down there. That night I witnessed a Molotov get thrown into another dude's spot, which led to a huge fire that ran rampant through the area. Yeah, I bought a tent the next day and started camping in the local mountains. The thought that someone would find your camp and ruin your shit was a real concern. Also, just finding somewhere to sleep that is secure. One morning, early, I was sleeping in an abandoned warehouse up a set of stairs nearly in the rafters and was woken by 4 raccoons like 4 feet from me eating my bag. Having to shit in the middle of the night is also awful. Being homeless is only scary for a couple of days. There's depression and boredom that are your real enemies. Your body and mind go into a sort of hyper-survival mode and there is no room for fear. I was just sleeping around where other guys in my city sleep, then just see some teens stabbing one of the homeless guys multiple times, ran away from there, never turned back. Man, there are some fucked up people out there. I hope somehow that guy survived. My buddy is a public defender, only for 10 years until the state pays his loans. The stories he tells will never stop surprising you. Every time we eat dinner together I always have to be reminded to close my mouth because my jaw is always on the table in disbelief of how fucked up society is out there. Bottom line, get a public defender in your circle of friends. Your dinner parties will never be lame again. The biggest thing was how often people try to abduct you. That and how often people try to serve you tampered food. The teenagers trying to get clout by assaulting or pranking you is another one. Coming back to my tent and there is blood everywhere was a fun one. I had been homeless for a couple weeks now and had made friends with this couple. They seemed pretty chill but had a bit of a drinking problem. Anyway, one night I was sleeping, could hear some commotion going on, but couldn't make out who it was or what was going on, until my buddy comes and sits on my sleeping bag, blood pumping out of his neck, like full on every time his heart beat it would splurt out, not under huge pressure but it was pretty bad. I asked him what happened and he said he think his missus had cut his throat with a Stanley blade. He was so drunk he was not aware of how bad his injury was, and insisted I did not call an ambulance. So I called the police, they called the ambulance. I see the dude a couple days later, still homeless, scar on his neck. He's ever so grateful the nurse had told him how lucky he was literally a couple millimeters away from dying that night. Cold weather. I thought I was going to die one night, I was so cold. I remember waking up thinking, you need to move or you are going to die. I don't know if it counts but I lived in a van for a month or so when I was in college, and would sleep at the park. I didn't necessarily see it but I heard it and it is burned into my mind forever. A group of the local hobos beat a guy near to death and they all raped his girlfriend, wife, then beat her to death. I found a new park after that. What did you do when you heard that? Did you call the police? I did, but the hobos are kind of autonomous in the city I was living in. Police would ignore them and let them sort their own matters out. So I lived in my car, but I remember seeing this woman and talking to her outside a store when I was just chilling eating some food, and she told me she had been homeless literally her entire life and had never slept on a proper bed in her life. I asked how old she was, she told me she was 53. It was scary to me because I realized that that could have easily been me. I think about that woman every single day. If she survived that long as a homeless person, you know she is not to be trifled with. I'm a woman in my early 20s. Not my brightest decision, but I slept in my car for several weeks, when I was completely out of money. Every night I parked in a small cul-de-sac. As far as I knew, the area was office only, so I didn't take anybody's parking lot, and in the morning I left. I worked a lot, so usually I slept like a log. One night though I woke up, feeling anxious for some reason. I looked up and saw a softly illuminated window right above me. Nice, warm light as if from a grandma bedside lamp. I freaked out a bit and fumbled for my keys. I better sit the rest of the night out at McDonald's or something. Then I noticed a silhouette not far away. A man was standing still and watching me. He didn't knock on my window glass, didn't try to talk or anything. He was just watching. I booked it out of that cul-de-sac real quick. You know, the thing that freaks me out the most is not even the fact that he could assault or rob me then, but the realization that he may have watched me every other night, but I was too tired to notice that earlier. Was homeless for a summer, and an acquaintance through the party scene of the town invited me to crash on her couch. Woke up in the middle of the night to her screaming into her phone about how they are out to get her and are setting the world up for destruction. Pretended like I was still asleep and got out of there the next day real quick. Smart move leaving. Otherwise, they might have targeted you too. All sorts of the usual shit, dicey situations with dicey people. But the one where I was spine-chilling terrified. I had found a seemingly nice quiet cut in the woods, shade, private, I'm set. I wake up to a most guttural yowl at 2 a.m. A pack of feral cats that the adjacent 50-year-old Raymond had lured to his property with cans of wet food. They stood on the fence yowling, eyes reflecting as we stared the other down. I was homeless in Hawaii for a month after I got out of the army. Nothing I saw was ever like "oh shit I'ma die," but there are a lot of homeless meth heads wandering the streets. I watched people having arguments with a spoon they were holding, people eating sand at the beach, people wearing week-old shit-caked pants. Meth is fucking wild. Stick to weed and shrooms. It's a long story but not that interesting. Long story short, I grew up in a very sheltered home. Through a series of unfortunate events I became homeless. For someone who didn't know anything about the world, seeing people use drugs openly, eat garbage, cry themselves to sleep on a park bench, kill themselves, etc. I grew up real quick. Snow. I'm a big, scary dude, so I never had trouble with people picking on me or whatever. In that sense the streets were safe to me, but seeing snow for the first time that year just made me cry and panic. It was too early for snow, I wasn't ready for that type of cold and was hoping to be on my feet again before the winter came. Beautiful thing like snow just fucked me up in so many ways. Everyone is gonna try to steal from your ass, so watch your shit. Keep your mouth shut and find a good place that is desolated from nocturnal animals and assholes. Don't try to make friends, they will turn on you in a heartbeat. Waking up to a shotgun being pointed directly at my head. I wasn't truly homeless but had no money or bank card and was trying to get back to my parents following nearly being strangled to death by my ex.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Subscribe for more awesome audio content brought to you by Tales from Reddit.